What do you think that we should do to entertain people at home?
I hate this show.
Oh my God. So I don't look at the chat room. And now she's kind of brought that with her.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Good evening. Hello, everybody. Are you feeling jolly? It's good to have you here on a Wednesday night in December. You know, it's we're getting closer and closer to rolling out that new intro video. I know the music needed to come first, but don't worry, it's being worked on. A lot of things are still being worked on. We have to go at our own pace over here. But you know what? Slow and steady gets you someplace. Slow and steady. Whether or not we're winning the race, we will see at the end of it all. It's not a race that's really meant to be won, to be honest. It's really not. It's almost like a trolley ride around the Adirondacks or the Acadia National Park tours or whatever it is. You just want to be able to do some things, have your breath be taken away a little bit from time to time, and have little to no regrets. Anyway, tonight is going to be great. We're going to have KrisAnne Hall joining us for a little bit in the first half. I got some questions to ask her. One about the income tax and all this great great talk about it could be going away. I want to know what kind of the real obstacles. I want to talk about those obstacles and stuff like that, and what the path forward really is. And then secondly, there is a lot that I'd like to bring up on the end of, what the hell is it? Rejected constitutional amendments. I found these really amazing things here. These really amazing constitutional amendments. There's a long list of them, and there's always people that are throwing it out there or trying to prescribe something new. Throughout the centuries, you can see how the culture starts changing once all the socialists in the late 19th century, early 20th start asking about getting rid of the Senate or one thing or another. But tonight I wanted to read through a couple of the more interesting ones and see what KrisAnne thinks about them, and if she ever had any amendments that she would have proposed, So that's something I thought that would be fun to do with you guys. In the second half, I got so much other stuff. I have a bunch of reels I want to go through because I think some of them are hilarious. I have stuff from you guys. I want you guys to be calling in from now. Write it down and do your worst. I don't care. You can call into the show and tell me what you would propose as a constitutional amendment. It doesn't have to be really, galaxy brained. You can be petty. What would you propose as a constitutional amendment? You just got to call into the show and have some fun with that in the second half. And I have a lot of fun stuff for the second half. I really, really, really do. In the meantime, do me a favor. No matter who you are, where you are, whether you're watching live or on demand, hit the like button on any platform that you're watching. Hit like. Go to other platforms to like it there too. Leave a comment either in the chat room or in the comment section. Both. Do whatever you can to stay active and engaged. Share it. Whatever the hell you got to do, that's what you have to do to support. That's a legitimate way of sponsoring shows, channels that you enjoy day in, day out. It takes nothing but a couple of clicks, and it's huge. And let me tell you something. in the last 3 weeks of really urging you guys to join me and doing that little bit for me, things have no doubt started to turn around. There's a lot different I'm doing over here too, and the production team is doing as well. But you guys have been really bringing it, and thank you so much. So, roll call in the chat rooms and the comment sections. Where are you watching? Where are you? Cities, states, countries, whatever you're comfortable with. Nothing too revealing, please. Roll call. Let us know what's going on. I have a couple other really quick things to throw out there. Number one, because KrisAnne's going to be jumping on with us in like 5 minutes. I want to get this out. Number one, tonight I'm going to be giving away the last of the unsold band t-shirts from high school, college, the Rotten Pain heavy metal days. It's at extra large. The last of my dick lasers. Somebody on the Jesse, somebody said, Frank, where do I get those things? If I don't win them. It's dicklasers.com, DICKLAZERS.com, and use promo code Frankly, and you get 20% off. And then you're like paying just about $20 for one. And it's not even just about for joke gifts for Christmas. It's anytime. Get it, because I don't think that's going to be active past the holidays. And also, you're going to get a handwritten letter and a round of silver, which yesterday just crossed a historic $60 mark per ounce. So you're getting a nice chunk of silver. That is all going to be through Super Chats. Send a Super Chat through Quite Frankly Superchat.com, the YouTube, the Rumble, the Gold Pills. They're all going to be counted. I already have the names from last night and the night before. Speaking of last night and the night before, I understand that we have a major problem with the podcast. With the on-demand, the audio on-demand. I know we have a major problem, and I don't know what's going on with SoundCloud. It has to be something to do with the RSS. I have tried to refresh it. I've tried to resync it with all these other places. It doesn't even populate on most platforms like Spotify. It populates on Apple, but you can't play it. It's bad. And because no place on earth has human customer service anymore, I'm like, by tomorrow, I may have to, for the first time in 11 years, migrate my entire archive someplace new and have it be the new place where I host it. I don't know what's going on, but it sucks. You know, it should be illegal. You want to talk about legislation and amendments? It should be illegal for companies to accept money monthly for services that have absolutely no human customer service. It should be illegal. Because when something goes wrong, and something always does, then you have to not only continue, you can always just cancel it, but if you're getting something you want, you don't want to go without it if you don't have to, and it's just a pain in the ass. So on top of having something you're paying for go wrong, then you have to get gaslit by a really poorly programmed AI chatbot that is trying to act as close to quirky human as possible. Let me get one of my human colleagues on here for you. What's your name and your email address? I'll open up a ticket. I don't want a fucking ticket opened up. I want a damn number. It sucks. It's one thing or another, man. So the only silver lining about this is I have been besieged dozens and dozens of emails of people who listen to the show in the morning and all that. I mean, I know the stats. But it's just so great to see human beings get in touch with me who I otherwise don't hear from because they're just enjoying it. And it's just good to know you guys are out there. I'll get it fixed. I don't know when though, but soon. Something else for you. Sal's beef stew recipe. It's been posted. It's been posted to all members only platforms. That's quitefrankly.tv, Patreon, Subscribestar, and now YouTube members section. Make sure you check it because you've been getting, if you're a monthly sponsor, check wherever you sponsor because you've been getting gold lately, like daily updates from recent holiday field trips and more to come, I'm sure. Tomorrow morning, there will be a special B-side interview in the morning. It'll be live around 11 a.m. or so with X22 Dave. It's been years since I've had him on with me, so we're going to catch up briefly around 11 a.m., and that's going to be on Pilled, YouTube, and Rumble. Then tomorrow night, I'll be live from Lyndhurst getting the tour from my father for the 3 years in a row now, who's going to take us, he once again decorated the entire mansion for Christmas. So he's going to take us from room to room and show us what the approach to each thing was, because it's always different every year. That'll be from my phone, so it'll only be on YouTube. You got to keep your notifications on. What else do I got? Oh, Friday night, I won't be live on air, but at 8:30, we will be doing our first ever film club watch party for Eyes Wide Shut. And as soon as that ends around 11, I'll go live I'll just continue the stream live for about a half hour just to share thoughts and see what people are saying, call in. And I'm going to try that with Film Club because it's a lot better just to watch it with you guys. So once again, monthly sponsors, you will have the private link delivered to you by early Friday afternoon. And then, Saturday night we'll be right here. There'll be the studio Christmas party. I'll pop in live with everyone. And we got a really nice, it's the holidays, so I'm always going live more because it's just fun. I want to pull you guys in for it. So that's that. Anyhow. All right. Well, did you hear this story out of the UK? Just nuts. Expansion of surveillance technology. British government plans to introduce cameras that recognize emotions. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Your emotions. British government plans to further expand surveillance measures in public spaces. Cameras that can analyze movements and emotions that are planned. As with many other measures, this is justified on the ground of crime prevention. It's pre-crime. It's Minority Report. Only the real question is, who's the minority? It's incredible. I mean, obviously, if you live in Europe, in anywhere in Europe, especially Western Europe, UK especially, then your back is really up against the wall. You have to think twice, 3 times before you post anything or you express anything that you're actually feeling. Now, so I mean, you better not feel anything soon that could be picked up by one of their creepy ass eyes in the sky. But this is just nuts. It really is. The British government has launched a legislative initiative that could allow street cameras to scan people's emotions, clothes, or cars. According to the Daily Mail, this expansion of facial recognition is intended on one hand to combat crime and to prevent suicides. However, in reality, it means an expansion of surveillance. The police also want broader access to databases to compare CCTV images with passport photos. In early December, it's the mark, number one, whoa. It's the mark of a low trust society. It's the mark of a low trust society. And it can be that way for a few reasons. You can't trust people. You can't have a high trust society when you bring so many people in from competing cultures and ideologies, or oppositional cultures and ideologies. That's number one. That's just the regular. But you know that that the forces within government and all these cultural institutions that are manufacturing things like migrant crisis and relocation programs, they also put all of their political and legal protection power behind those that they have imported for one subversive reason or another. So it's really just about low trust society. What we're talking about from a standpoint of government putting something out there, like the UK wanting to be able to really track people. Gait recognition has been around for a long time. But, now going a little bit more boldly into the emotion detecting line of work, going more boldly into that part of the whole scenario. It's really so much more about how government does not trust the people that were primarily there before. For this transition that we're going through right now, in their eyes, to really take root, You need the baser instincts. You need the native population to be subdued. You need all of their voices to be subdued. You need their actions to come with a major deterrence. Anything that would be considered commonsensical, self-defense, in defense of native culture, traditions, whatever the hell it is, all that needs to be suppressed. Almost like it's a normal thing. It's a normal thing to be frustrated by what you're seeing if you were, if you're native to the UK or to Italy or to the United States, and you see what's been happening over the last, the last 60 years for sure, but especially the last 30. It's normal to be frustrated by that. But government is, they treat that like an autoimmune disorder right now. They want the immune system suppressed. They want it suppressed. They want to know what's going on, but you know where the responsibilities and the privileges are. Anyway, that's one thing. Another thing that there's so much else going on here. Like, here's another example of the insanity. Pope Leo criticized Catholics who see Muslim immigration to Europe as a threat to Christian identity. He cited Lebanon as an example of coexistence. Take a listen to this. This is just ridiculous. Hold on. 1 second. Where the hell's that coming from? Over there. Take a listen to this.
Some Catholics in Europe believe that Islam is a threat to a Christian identity of the West. Are they right? And what would you say to them?
All of the conversations that I had during my time both in Turkey and in Lebanon, including with many Muslims, were precisely concentrated on the topic of peace and respect for people of different religions. I know that, as a matter of fact, that has not always been the case.
Okay, well, it sounds even dumber when it comes from an American accent. Usually with a pope, we have to hear some other European accents or whatever it is, and it just sounds dumber. Let me see here. Hold on. I have KrisAnne saying that she's in the waiting room, but I don't see her anywhere. So hold on. I'm gonna have to do this some other way now. Let me leave the meeting, go back in, and see if that works. Hold on, we had a mix-up. Okay. Mix-up sounds good. That means that there might be an answer coming. Anyway, so that's what's going on. Of course, with you look at how the rest of the world is kind of trending with surveillance, that we're not too far behind them, but we should have some kind of a firewall. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second because, but one of those things that we have to think about is the way that these systems are funded. Where do they get off doing all this stuff? Taxation is a big part of it. I want to start with the income tax. KrisAnne Hall, KrisAnneHall.com, constitutional attorney, been coming on this show for probably about, I think there has to be about like a 10-year mark now, a decade of wonderful conversations with KrisAnne. And KrisAnne, it's great to have you on, especially in December.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here any day of the week, any month of the year.
Any month of the year. Well, I think we've had so many of our coziest conversations around the holidays. So this is just, I go through my checklist. I'm like, wait a second. Whether I talked to KrisAnne last week or a few months ago, this has to be one of those points where we catch back up. But one thing that you and I have spoken about a lot over the years, at least a few times we've done shows about the legality, the constitutionality of taxation, and especially the income tax. Now, we have been teased. I can't call it anything more than a tease. It would be the greatest thing that ever happened to most of us, at least professionally. And that is Donald Trump, President Trump, talking about how We may see the income tax go completely away or greatly reduced or whatever the hell it is. It usually is balanced out with a talk about how much is going to be brought in through tariffs, which that can't be the entirety of the conversation because, of course, you only bring in so much. We spend trillions, hundreds of billions at that point, a drop in the bucket. So I wanted to talk about something you've already addressed, and that is the obstacles. What we could actually do to make something like the income tax go away in the best way possible. So where would we start on this?
Well, it's quite interesting because normally you would be hearing a speech from me about how Article 2 doesn't delegate power to the president to have anything to do with taxation.
Oh, hold on, KrisAnne.
Hold on,
KrisAnne. Is there any way to get your microphone, before we go further, any way to get your microphone a little higher?
Louder.
Louder, sorry.
Check, 1, 2.
A little more.
Little more. Check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2.
A little more.
Little more. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. All right, so right about now, you'd be getting a speech from me about how Article 2 creates a very limited and defined amount of power in the president, and the president has no power over taxation and that sort of thing. But the reality is, constitutionally, that is true, but the reality is we are post-constitutional when it comes to the income tax in and of itself. So what we have through the multiple acts of Congress is an unconstitutional delegation of power to the executive branch. The president is over the executive branch. And so because of this unconstitutional delegation, an enormous amount of power does rest in the hands of the president. And so most of the income tax, as the laws are written, can be eliminated with the rewriting of the enforcement by the President of the United States. And so, as you've heard multitudes of people, I'm sure, teach and say on the internet and whatever, income tax is supposed to be voluntary. The code is written so it's voluntary. It's not supposed to apply to everyone's wages. How all of this happens is through executive branch application, and the federal government, especially the judiciary, allowing the executive branch to write in regulation where Congress has left big, flat, fat, vagary, blank, black holes, right? So with all of that in mind, and I'm super, bottom shelving this, the President of the United States could issue executive orders to the IRS as the executive branch agency and say, from this day forward, this is how this code is going to be applied. This is how this code is going to be applied. We're going to apply it to the letter. We are not going to add extras, and we are going to stop imposing this income tax on this segment of our population.
You're telling me, because you're telling me that an executive order would say to the you're saying to the letter it's voluntary. The income tax.
Yeah, income tax is primarily voluntarily. You are forced to pay income tax based on unconstitutional and unlawful enforcement, and that is perpetuated by educated elite ignorance. That really is the bottom line. It's a lot more complicated than that. That's sort of the bottom shelf vision of it. The reality is income tax, as the code is written, doesn't apply to most people, but its enforcement through the executive branch is what we deal with. And because its enforcement comes through the executive branch, who also owns the DOJ, who also owns the FBI, and who can seize your assets from your bank and raid your house with frogmen SWAT teams like they did Roger Stone, you pay your taxes.
Okay, so then here's the question. The next question I have is that because we've had plenty of shows just this year alone on income tax. From we've had guests like Brandon Joe Williams who have come on to talk about how they've essentially created a life outside of the system and all of that. And I mean, I'm nervous to even come close to doing anything like that. But the morality of it is completely justified. Nobody has, so I feel wonderful for people who have found something that works for them so that they're not paying income tax anymore because it is all their money. That is the moral. That's the moral end to something like that. Of course, it's just really all how are you going to risk it? So my question, I think
you're really rolling the dice, to be honest with you, because the whole system's arbitrary to begin with. And, you get somebody in office that, I don't know when was the last time we didn't have a president that weaponized the agencies and the law against those people who disagree with them or those people who are vocal against him. I mean, it's just weaponization of the Department of Justice and all this, federal SWAT teams. It is almost expected in today's day and age, quite unfortunately. So you really sort of roll the dice on that. And as long as those people stay under the radar and you really don't talk about things and you don't get a personal profile high enough to really rock the boat, you're probably going to slip under the radar because, number one, you probably don't have enough income anyway to justify fighting to get you to pay. And then number two, there's just bigger fish to fry and bigger gains to be got.
That sucks.
It really is. I mean, I can't describe it any more than it's just simply the British government we fought to get away from.
Let me ask you this. Is there any way, because all I've ever said was all I care about, if I can get anything, is just an opt-out. Voluntary sounds incredible. Is there anything that the president can do on his own? Because, of course, when we talk about lasting legacy, we have to talk about Congress, and it is just, we are cursed. In that department, we're cursed. But is there
the president can do a lot, Frank, but it will always be temporary.
Exactly.
Right? Because the next president comes in and it sort of changes around. I think what would be very interesting is if we had a president with the huevos to do something like this, to actually say, okay, the IRS code is unconstitutional. Its application has been wrong for all these years, which they wouldn't want to say, by the way, because they might open the door for lawsuits that way, right? So they would have to craft some really clever way of saying, we're just not going to do it this way anymore. By then having a new administration come in and maybe replaying and replacing what had been removed, I think could illustrate possibly to the judiciary the arbitrary nature of enforcement. And since I don't want to get too wonky, and I know you have great audience who are super educated and super intelligent, so this is not going to go over their heads, because the Supreme Court has removed the Chevron doctrine. I think the Supreme Court could possibly even legitimately, in their own minds, I mean, obviously it's legit in mine, but in their own minds could review the IRS code and how the agencies are filling in the blanks and declare that unconstitutional, because Chevron doctrine being removed says that if it's not written in the act, then the agencies don't get to make it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's opening doors of possibility.
That's what I essentially wanted to ask you about opening doors of possibility, even for, even opening some kind of a door where precedent could be set for individuals to go and have a powerful tool by their side when they challenge the legality of sending away their hard-earned dollars to Washington, D.C. involuntarily or compulsory. And in some kind of a compulsory way, because, in 2029, what if let's say Donald Trump has the huevos to do what he says that could happen, and then 2029 there's somebody who wants to turn it all around. So what,
Right.
we had 3 years. We had 3 years where we made a lot more we kept a lot more of our own money. And so what would outlive that? And I think of precedent.
Right.
That's all I think about, because there's not going to be. It doesn't look like there's going to be legislation.
Well, the people have to feel that, right? I mean, you have to understand we are generations past the point of ever living without this. And it was a really, really brilliant move to auto deduct, right? Not having to make people pay, because people had to write a check for their income tax out of their paycheck every week. This would never exist because the people would have revolted a long time ago. If, like you said, Trump has the huevos, he's not just being, his bombastic hyperbolic self, and actually does this, and the people get a glimpse of what real liberty feels like, what real, closer to free market anyway, feels like. I don't think it's going to be as easy for the next president to come in and shove the toothpaste back in the tube. So there would be a huge amount of resistance, and the prosperity that the people would individually hold in that 3 years, you would see that personal prosperity increase might be enough for the next president to come in and be sort of a little intimidated to apply it in the exact manner. Now, they always try to push it back, but I don't think they could ever start where they left off.
That'd be great. Oh man, that would be wonderful. It's a great point about the toothpaste and the tube, how it's all kind of like reversed, because when the income tax was brought out, you're talking about a smaller number of people, much smaller number of people who were being taken from, and okay, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, a lot of people don't even know the history of the income tax, which it goes back to the Civil War and how it all happened. It didn't all happen in 1913. So, I mean, if we understand the frog in the pot of water, how it really happened to us, and how we were really duped, and how Thomas Paine said that all of history proves, and someone who's not led by bias will realize that taxes are not raised to pay for wars, but wars are raised to collect taxes. You have to understand all of this stuff is linked together.
Yes. I was speaking more so from the standpoint of, in the 20th century, what we're living with right now as far as what they call entitlements go, and all these things, all these safety net programs, which have just really become lifestyles. That was largely, we're talking about FDR. We're talking about that early part of the 20th century, where everything that is just what we expect as part of daily life was created then, and the income tax was a huge part of it. But now, like you said, flipping that around, where so many more people are being taken from, to get any kind of a windfall like that right now, when everything is just getting so expensive, it's nuts. That would be a wonderful thing to feel, even for a year and a half.
I have a really kind of strange human nature theory that if this were to really happen, right, we would actually get rid of the income tax, where welfare subsidizes no work, right? So, and encourages people not to get a job. And if anybody who tells you that welfare doesn't encourage people not to work is just walk away. They're not smart enough to have a conversation with. But I have a theory that if we remove income tax, it would actually incentivize work. It would actually cause people who are not working to see the value in working, because they would actually reap what they're sowing. Oh yeah.
I mean, there is anybody who is entrepreneurial in that. It doesn't even matter if you want to go into business for yourself, or if you just want to go out there and work. I mean, it's going to be a really big motivating factor one way or another. But anybody who has started a business for themselves knows, and they've gotten that adage thrown at them. It's not even an adage; it's just a rule. You have got to be able to have your ducks lined up so that you can survive maybe 3 to 5 years before your margins are large enough to be able to cut yourself a check. A big part of those margins is, what is just bearing down on you from red tape that's coming from various governments, not just the federal government, but local and state and all that stuff. So you just think about how going into business would be far less daunting. You might be able to cut yourself a check within 2 years of putting all the legwork in to start it. It's just a lot of people just give up because they look at this gauntlet of all the hands that are held out in front of them, and they're like, to hell with this. Why would I even, waste years of my life for something that I'm the one taking all the risk anyway. So you're right. I think it's great. And actually, you wrote about this. You said the biggest winners, as you were talking about this on Twitter, you said the biggest winners would be small businesses, independent contractors, consumer retail and services, manufacturing and logistics, banking and lending, real estate, tech startups, energy, non-subsidy, and agriculture. But here's the big one. The biggest obstacles and opposition will be the bar associations. Entire legal divisions will be eliminated. K Street lobbyists who profit from pushing for tax credits, exemptions, and carve-outs. Oh, that would be a war unto itself. IRS compliance, consulting, and advisory firms, and every industry that survives off of doing and filing taxes. Oh, man. KrisAnne, you were the one you and JC were the ones that said, Frank, you got to read the book, The Killing of Uncle Sam. So I know what time of day it is. I know you don't have like a pie in the sky view on the world and how it works. I think if this income tax really did go away, I think everybody would really be holding its breath at that point. You want to talk about events, you want to talk about Gulf of Tonkin, you want to talk about things, everybody would really be like, hold on to your butts, because this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I just don't, and this is where hope meets reality, kind of sealed together by practical cynicism, right? I don't really see that happening. In spite of the fact that I know, and because you read The Killing Uncle Sam, that the banking cartel runs everything, right? So the bankers run everything. The reality is income tax will not be eliminated in the right ways or for the right people, because it will incentivize work, right? It will incentivize people who were not necessarily working to get out and work. And then what happens is the government dependency plantation starts losing its hold on entire segments of our population. And the government and the bankers, they can't lose that aspect of their control over people. We have I think as a concept in society, we have no concept of how dependency actually is the most controlling and dangerous factor against liberty. And if you want to know just how dangerous dependency is, whether it be on the bank for your mortgage or the government, then you need to read Keto letter number 68 and let John Trenchard show you why our Declaration of Independence carries those words, pursuit of happiness, and what that actually means in relationship to dependency.
You're right on that, Mark, and we talk about that a lot here too. From a micro and a macro standpoint, when you talk about dependency from a micro standpoint, a person they no longer have any political autonomy because they have to be able to make decisions in the voting booth or anywhere else that is going to continue against all else. That's what they need to depend on. And then from a macro standpoint, states in particular, they lose their autonomy when they're dependent on block grants that are not supposed to be remitted. Right. So it's 100%. It's what is applied to an individual is applied to people as a voting block, and that is a very all that control would go away.
Well, Well, but Frank, it's even bigger than controlling the voting block. It's literally controlling your existence, right? The dependency on government is not really even about voting. It's about the first law of nature, which is the duty of self-preservation. If you are dependent on someone for the very shelter from the elements and the very sustenance for your body, you will put up with the worst, well, as Jefferson said, the worst trains of abuses just to survive. And that's where we are. Now, something really big is happening in Florida. I don't know if you've been paying attention or had the opportunity to pay attention to that. I know because I live here. Our government, well, at least our governor and many legislators are really pushing hard to eliminate property tax in the state of Florida for homesteads. So if you qualified to be a homesteader, meaning you live in your home for more than 6 months out of the year, you're not a snowbird, you're not a corporation that owns a home, you're actual living entity, breathing person in a home, you get homestead exemption, then your property tax will be eliminated. You're not paying any property tax, which means once you pay your note off on your house, you own your property completely.
That's incredible. I was just thinking about this the other day. When I was just contemplating how many things that people have to deal with and shoulder from day to day with costs and what will keep a head of the household awake at night trying to do all of their economic moves in their heads. And what it really all comes down to is, if you lost everything, if you really were like down and out and you are in the red, but if you owned your home, even if you went a couple of months without electricity, it's still your home. That's something they can't. And the whole idea of eviction, especially for a homeowner, it's one thing to be a renter and just be like, this is not your place. You have to get out, as heart-wrenching as that is. But the whole idea of not owning a home, that you've paid off a mortgage, like you said, the note is gone. And the fact that you can still, if you went on hard times, you can lose everything, including the thing that you already paid for, because this imaginary, completely arbitrary sum that you now owe for just existing is not being paid.
No, it is a rent. Actually, it's proof that the government still claims ownership of your property, no matter what any document says. You are evicted from your home for failing to pay 3 months of property taxes, and 3 months of property taxes are not the sum and total value of your home. It's a mere fraction of the value of your home. So the government kicks you out because you failed to pay the government rent. They sell your property and get a windfall from it. I mean, they'll sell it for pennies on the dollar because they don't care about the value of the home. And then some corporation comes in and buys it up. And so it really is, it is really a travesty when we really disregard what the real American dream is. The American dream is not a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a 2-car garage that you can make payments on. The American dream is the ability to pursue ownership in its truest and most complete definition we call dominion. And that's just not possible. And I'm happy to see that discussion getting a lot of momentum here in Florida. And now remember, Florida doesn't have a state income tax either. And we operate in a surplus. I mean, we are so much in a surplus right now in the state of Florida that the governor has paid off over half of any debt that we had when he came into office. So wow. You get a lot of people. It's crazy because you start talking about eliminating taxes, Frank, and people get scared. They're like, oh, how are we going to pay for our police? And how are we going to pay for our schools? And
the
how
roads.
Are we going to pay for our fire department?
What about our roads?
We had all that.
I know. That's the stereotype is screaming about the roads, the paving of roads. You know,
No, they don't do that in my county anyway. I pay more tax in Hillsborough County, Florida than I do anywhere. So.
Well, you know, let me ask you about this then, about Florida, because we were just talking about this. I mean, what you just shared with us right now is just congratulations for Floridians, especially for any kind of local momentum that has brought that kind of legislation and that possibility to, you know, where it is right now. That's incredible. It was just last night in the first half of the show, I had my friend Megan Fox on, and she was following this Blake Lively case, and it's this legal claim says, I have it over here. What they're claiming is that there is no journalistic or First Amendment protections of a person and their sources if they are just a media creator. Like if you have subscribership on YouTube or something like that, and you ply your trade, if it's and whatever, and you publish a story and you have a source, you talk about it and all that stuff. And there is this Blake Lively case that involves these 1970 something shield laws in Florida, and a lot of people actually, one right now just reminded me to bring it up with you. Have you followed this at all as far as shield laws in Florida and what defines journalism, an act of journalism, and whether or not they can have their sources protected?
Yeah, I've literally been talking about this for decades. So this is nothing new. This is actually the product of decades of misappropriation, misapplication of constitutional provision. There are videos of Dianne Feinstein and I forget the other dude's name. I'm so terrible with names. I'm so ashamed at how bad I am at names.
Chuck Schumer.
But my husband jokes that if you're not born before 1812, I'm not going to remember your name.
Yeah,
so.
Probably not.
But you have these members of the Senate talking about how, and Dianne Feinstein specifically saying how the First Amendment doesn't apply to someone with an internet website. You have to have bona fide credentials. And it's such an abomination and an adulteration of what freedom of speech and freedom of press really means, because we've just, we have been educated in the American education system into idiocy, right? So we are not taught the right things anymore. Like press means CNN. Press literally comes from the term of pressing down on the printing thing to disseminate what you believe. And so freedom of press isn't about journalism. It's about the freedom to disseminate your conscience. So the entire First Amendment is about freedom of conscience. And James Madison wrote an essay in 1792 called Property, where he actually defines what property is. And he says that property is obviously your cell phone, whatever you have in your hand. But he said in a larger sense, property is anything that you have value in, and that the greater sense of property is that you have a property in your rights. So he said it is true that you have a right to your property, but it's equally said that you have a property in your rights. And he said a man's greatest property is his conscience and the dissemination of those opinions that come from his conscience. And the irony of all of this, I teach, I have these online classes, so I teach all of this, and I just have to sit back and go, oh God, why aren't people taking my classes and they could see this and we wouldn't be living this? And oh dear Jesus, I'm sorry, founders, they're all rolling in their graves. Alexander Hamilton, the biggest government guy. The libertarians hate Alexander Hamilton. He gets a really bad rap. He's the product of his own personal little man syndrome. But the reality is the biggest government guy, Alexander Hamilton, in the argument in the debate over the Bill of Rights, literally said, what is freedom of press? He said, if you put a Bill of Rights into the Constitution, and for example, you list in those Bill of Rights that The people have a liberty of press that the government's not allowed to infringe upon. The next thing you know, the government will be defining what press is. And the power to define is the power to evade. They'll literally be able to say, well, this is press, so we obviously won't infringe upon that. But this isn't press. And since it's not press, then it doesn't fall under this, and we have the right to regulate it. This argument was made in 1788. And here we are living it.
I'm glad you brought up Dianne Feinstein, because I brought her up last night too. I remember those statements made on tape. She used really reductive, derogatory way, like, a 17-year-old in his mom's basement on a blog. It was
and then she said they have to have bona fide credentials. I always laugh because she always said bona fide. I'm like, lady, learn how to read. That's not how that's pronounced.
Well, I'm glad. So then, as far as Florida goes, what do you think on the shield law situation? Does that need to be amended or repealed? What?
Well, obviously needs to be repealed. The Florida Constitution is very clear, and there is a very, very strong provision for freedom of speech, freedom of press in the Florida Constitution. And so these laws that go about defining who has rights and who doesn't are extra constitutional and unconstitutional. And it's really the government infringing upon, through definition, what they're not allowed to touch.
Well, hopefully somebody out there in Florida reaches out to you. Maybe this could be an open and shut case. That would be wonderful. It's right in your backyard. You might be able to create some precedent that puts everything in proper orbit. Okay, so here's the last thing I want to do with you. A little fun exercise. I came across it's a picture of I've come across lists like this before too, but this was so neatly done. It is a limited number of some of the proposed amendments that never left the halls of Congress. They were just either ignored or voted down or whatever. And I just want to read through a few of them with you, see what you think is funny, what you think is actually has merit. If you have any amendment proposals that you've come up with over the years that you think would be a really great way to fortify what we have. Here we go. The first one I have is 1876. There's an attempt to abolish the United States Senate. That's happened well into the 20th century too.
Well, we did abolish the United States Senate in 1913 with the ratification of the 17th Amendment.
Correct. They got it.
The
1876. Still, the forbidding of religious leaders from occupying a governmental office or receiving federal funding. Starting with there.
Obviously, I'm not going to be an advocate for forbidding anyone from occupying a governmental office. That is content discrimination. You can't discriminate someone based on what they believe. And people should be allowed to vote in, within a certain limitation. I mean, you've got to be a citizen, and you have to meet the qualifications. They should be allowed to vote people in based on the principles that they hold in their community. But religious leaders receiving federal funding is a violation of the true understanding of separation of church from state. So, there shouldn't be any. And by the way, since I don't know, maybe the 1990s, I don't even know. I'm actually on the minority, I think, quite often within the Christian community about keeping government funding out of religious organizations. We have actual First Amendment law groups that fight now to get government money into the hands of churches, not realizing every dollar that goes into a church, every dollar that goes into a ministry is the violation of separation of church from state because it allows government to control the ministry. That's the real definition of separation of church and state from state, because the government's not supposed to control the church. And money always brings control. So we shouldn't need an amendment for that. It just should be known that it can't happen.
What about this? Would you be okay with renaming the nation the United States of Earth? That was in 1893.
No. I'm a rose by any other name. I thought it was kind of silly that we renamed the Gulf of Mexico. Who cares?
I know. But talk about manifest destiny. If you put that out there to the rest of the world, by the way, we're going to just forget about this America stuff. It's the United States of Earth soon. Okay, let's see here.
You'd be on the same road as the 1999 Superman then. So
right. Well, what about now? I saw this like a triumvirate, an executive council of 3 to replace the president, 1878.
I would not be opposed to that at all, because that was actually an original proposal during the ratification debates on having a tribunal instead of a single entity in the executive branch. It was a seriously considered option, but at the time, remember, in that cultural era, we still had kings and czars that ruled. And the bottom line came, we can't have some king come and have to create a treaty with a tribunal. No king is going to want to do that. It's very condescending. It's very undiplomatic. So we chose to have a single president because in the world that we lived in, we needed to have someone of politically visual status to sit down with a king or a czar. I say politically visual because in reality, the president has zero power of a king. Constitutionally speaking, I know now he does because we've allowed that to go by the wayside, but it was more of a visual representation.
Right.
So I would not be opposed to having a tribunal in the executive leadership.
Okay. Abolishing the United States Army and Navy. That's 1893.
Well, if we operated constitutionally, we wouldn't need to abolish, because remember, they're not even supposed to be active for more than 2 years at a time. And we're not supposed to be funding them for more than 2 years at a time. And that, although the Navy can exist because continually, because there's always something to defend on the seas, the Army's not supposed to be in existence unless we have a defense on our own soil or a declaration of war. Mm-hmm. And so constitutionally speaking, we don't need that amendment if we're following the Constitution.
I knew that you would be that's how the split would be. That Army would be as needed and Navy because of shipping lanes and everything else and piracy. Okay, let's see here. It's funny they start after 1861. They didn't want to touch the Corwin Amendment. Then that would ruin the whole the enchantment of Abraham Lincoln a little bit too much. But let's see here. All acts of war should be put to a national. I love this one. 1916. Well, maybe I don't know. I like the spirit of this one. I should say. Yeah. All acts of war should be put to a national vote. Anyone voting yes had to register as a volunteer for service in the United States Army. I like the spirit of that one.
Well, the caveat, maybe with the caveat, right? But what we have to realize, and I don't want to say this in a condescending way that people get insulted, how easily we are manipulated to war, right? So war by democracy is not a good idea. In reality, war by democracy is how we function, because not by my popular vote, but by popular opinion. And so we now allow presidents to engage in warlike activity without a declaration of war because you have the public opinion behind them. So maybe we're not casting a ballot, but public opinion does drive how we operate in warlike actions.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to have war by democracy, because then you'll see more Twin Towers incidents.
Yes. Yeah. But the reason why I like the spirit of this, though, is that because whether or not we are all voting democratically to go to war as a people, we always seem to find ourselves in conflicts without anybody listening to our protests and our griefs anyway. But
here's how it's supposed to work, Frank. You're not supposed to go to war unless Congress declares war.
Yeah.
Right. So Congress, constitutionally speaking, the House is the representative of the people. The Senate is the representative of the states. And so to get a declaration of war, you have to have the support and the approval of the people and the states as a whole. And that is the constitutional republic way of controlling the war. What we do now through the Unconstitutional War Powers Act, and by allowing presidents to go, ooh, scary people, we must go bomb, we actually allow the executive branch to act in a way that was motivating our founders to not give the president that power. Madison actually wrote to George Washington and said, all of history proves that executives are prone to war. That is why we are not giving the executive this power. It will be vested in the people through Congress. So that's another kind of a constitutional amendment we don't need if we followed the Constitution. So amending the Constitution to fix something that's in the Constitution that we're not following already is a dangerous thing.
I know. We always joke about that, passing laws that require somebody to follow the law. It does. It's like, what's the point here? Yeah. Now there are two things. We're almost wrapping up, but there are two things here from the late 30s, early 40s that have to do with income. 1933, early 30s, attempt to limit personal wealth to $1 million. And then in 1947, the income tax maximum for an individual should not exceed 25%, which would be an incredible cut today.
Right?
Wow. Holy, my gosh. That'd be great. But still there's that. The right, 1948, the right of citizens to segregate themselves from others. And then here in 1971, I think actually 1971, what was that? The same year the Club of Rome started talking about climate change. Might have been. It was the 70s. American citizens should have the alienable right to environmental.
Alienable right.
It says alienable. Okay. American citizens should have the alien.
It's not a right if it's alienable. It's a privilege. Maybe it's a typo. American citizens should have the alienable right to an environment free of pollution. Oh boy.
I mean, it's stupid all around. So who cares?
That's stupid all around. The whole segregate thing is just amusing to me because I want to know where in the Constitution it gives the government the authority to mandate that we can't segregate, right? Look, desegregation is the dumbest thing on the planet as a government function. And I'm not a white supremacist, even though the Southern Poverty Law Center says I am. The reality is human nature says we choose to associate with people whom we have like mind, like faith, like feelings. We like to hang around with people that think and act like us, right? And we're going to do that naturally. When government mandates segregation, right? So desegregation in our history was the result of government mandating segregation, not the result of people choosing to be segregated and wanting to be unsegregated, right? So what we have is like a Hegelian dialectic, right? The government created mandated segregation. So now we need a law to stop the government from mandating segregation so that we cannot be segregated. I mean, here's a little bit of history most people don't really know because we don't bother learning it, we don't teach it. America was almost, even at the federal governmental level, was almost completely desegregated prior to Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson rebooted racial segregation in America on purpose. He was a vile man. The federal government was desegregated in that Black and white people worked together in the same buildings, in the same departments, in the same offices. And so what Woodrow Wilson did is he came in and completely segregated the federal government, firing anybody who was of color, eliminating positions. And there's a story in history about how Woodrow Wilson, how there was one Black man who was so vital to his department that Woodrow Wilson's policy couldn't apply to him. If they got rid of him, they couldn't function. So Woodrow Wilson ordered that a cage be built around his desk. So we had already made all this progress. The civil rights movement would have been completely unnecessary if it had not been for the federal policies of Woodrow Wilson and the taught deference to the federal government as the supreme power of the union.
And also communist front groups like the NAACP and everything else. I mean, there's always that moving the needle in one way or another, creating discord and the need for there to be a response in one way.
Yeah, the revolutionary anarchist movement is incredibly insane. I don't know if you know this. I have to look this up really quick. My husband just published a brand new book.
I didn't know.
It's taken 4 years to write it. If you give me just a second, I can find it. He sent it to me. If you go to Amazon and you do James, well, I guess James Hall's probably a pretty popular name. But I think it's something like the next, oh gosh, isn't that terrible? I don't even know the name of my husband's book.
Awful.
It is terrible.
It's just really awful. Hold on, wait. It refers to different authors. J.C. Hall. I'm looking for right now. J.C. Hall.
I'm a terrible wife.
Go easy on yourself. But wait, I can't.
It's called The Next Uprising. So if you go to Amazon and you look up the book Next Uprising, it's big white letters on a green background.
I see it. America's Radical Past and Its Uncertain Future. November 29th, 2025. Congratulations, JC. Gotta have him on the show again.
If you are really interested in how destabilization has been organized over the centuries, and this is actually, did he change the cover? It looks a little bit different there.
I don't know. Well, I'll add it to my storefront too, because I started building an Amazon storefront for a book club books and everything like that. So I'll make sure it's in there.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. It's really, really an important read in understanding the history. I don't know if you can see my phone. Can you see that? I can.
You get the next upright. You got to move it out. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, so that's what it looks like on Amazon for me. So maybe if you see that one or the other one, it sounds like the same when you read the description, but it may also look like that.
Well, like I said, I'll put it out there. I'd love to talk to JC in the new year. It was wonderful. This is exactly the kind of fun I wanted to have with you tonight. I hope you guys have a great, wonderful, blessed Christmas. And KrisAnneHall.com. It's in the description of the episode. You want to leave anybody with some parting shots or an appearance you got coming up? You know you spend a lot of time on TV these days. Let everybody know where to find you next.
Well, I'm on Victory News, govictory.com every single week. I do guest appearance on Court TV now every single week, which is one of my fun things to do, the wonky things. I sit in the courtroom when I don't actually get to be in the courtroom anymore. And I'm still traveling and teaching, but not as much as I used to. I've actually published 2 new books, but they're more legally based. One is called Stewards of the Flock, Legal Issues for Ministries. And the other one is Stewards of the Harvest, Legal Issues for Christian Business. And so it takes my corporate law stuff. But Frank, I have something very exciting, and you would be the first public announcement that I made of it. Do you want to hear?
Yes.
I have been accepted into Oxford University's summer law school program.
Wow.
Yeah. I know it's probably not a big deal to most people, but for a lawyer, it's a really big deal. And so I'm going to be studying English law in Oxford all summer, 9 weeks of Oxford University.
That's where all of those really prestigious debates take place, right?
Yes.
Are you going to be spending time in that particular hall there?
I hope so.
Wow. So how long are you going to be out there for?
9 weeks.
That's incredible. Congratulations. That's just one you're going into the belly of the old beast there.
Yeah. I hope I'm really up for what I've volunteered for, but I've been really, really praying and wanting for this for a really long time. Because I have a huge study of English history, like the history of our Constitution. I take it all the way back to 840. Actually, in some of my classes, I go back to 600, to the founding of England itself. And so I have met British scholars who say, I know more about English history than most people in the UK. And to study at Oxford for me is just such an exciting thing.
Well, congratulations. And I really hope that while you're out there, you come up with some kind of very lightweight kind of content that you could upload along the way from your phone onto your YouTube or something. I'm going to want to follow KrisAnne along through her Oxford journey for those 9 weeks, no doubt about it. So
I'm up on X and Instagram for sure. I'm also on Facebook, and I'm going to be broadcasting everything that I possibly can. So,
well, thanks again. Congratulations. Merry Christmas, and send our best to JC as well.
I will.
Okay. Sure. Thank you, KrisAnne. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There you go, everybody. KrisAnne Hall for another December. A December to remember. 10 years of KrisAnne Hall. It has to be 10 years. Ever since Matt said, yo, you got to get this girl on. I think that was 2014 or 15. It was before we left the first studio. So this might be a big landmark year. So there you go. All right. Let's get around to you guys. First of all, what kind of amendments would you want to see adopted by the government? Okay, if you could have any petty or very well thought out thing, this might be something you've thought about for a long time that you think would be really good, or it could be petty bullshit. You got to call in and let me know. Let's get to the super chats. Let's see who has also entered their name into the hat for all of this. Silver Jay Britt says, I hate this show, but I always enjoy seeing KrisAnne Hall. You know what? Let me turn on the text-to-speech supers. And, okay, that one just popped up. I hate this show, but always enjoy KrisAnne Hall. Thank you, Frank. Another thought. How do the UK Gestapo cams interpret resting bitch face? I don't know. Because, a face is a face, but the emotions, I guess you have to be able to determine emotion by the face. And there's a lot of resting bitch faces today. Everybody knows a resting bitch face. Or at least a few. Better not go to London anytime soon. Okay, Jeannie Yankee fan says, KrisAnne rocking the Constitution. Great conversation, Frank. I wanted to talk about this stuff so badly with the income tax in particular, the voluntary nature of it all. The fact that the president does have a lot of power in that way to redirect how the agencies that collect this stuff operate, that in a de facto way, that could be eliminated. Now, for how long? Because like everything else, it's effective for as long as the culture inside the White House and all that is around, which is every 4 years. But it's true. What kind of an impact would that have if you gave people even just 2 years of them keeping upwards of 30% of their money from being stolen? Think about what that would do. Think about how gut-wrenching it would be for people to lose that again, and how angry they would be at the person who did it. At least I hope that would be a motivating thing. That could be wonderful. But ultimately, you need repeals done. You need acts of Congress for it to really be made solid. And how the hell are you going to do that? How the hell are you going to do that when, of course, I saw James Carville in November talking about, I'll tell you what's going to happen in 2028. I'll tell you what. He's out there looking like a cicada, like some kind of a fucking cricket that has been an emaciated cricket. That's what James Carville looks like. An emaciated cricket. And he was talking about guarantees, giving his guarantees that in 2028, when a Democrat takes over in the White House, and when they have a Democrat, the House and Senate, which it could happen, anything could happen, right? That the first thing that they're going to do, and he would put a large amount of money on it, the first thing that they are going to do is expand the Supreme Court from 9 to 13, try to get D.C. and Puerto Rico statehood so that they can just essentially harvest 4 more Senate seats for Democrats, and that they're going to go to town. Okay. And he said that the reason why they would expand the courts to 13 is because they want the courts to finally reflect what the American people actually want. So I guess the American people is just anybody who votes with his party. This is what they're talking about, which is also, and the reason why I bring it up is when you talk about how deadlocked we are and how we don't have majorities nearly as big as you would need to be able to amend the Constitution in any way, shape, or form, even if it's just a repeal. There's a lot of talk out there like, hey, while we still have slim majorities as, non-progressives, Republican Party majorities or whatever, while we still have this slim majority until next fall, let's do away with the filibuster. So at least we can pass some legislation with some simple majorities. I mean, you think about this, how each party is always talking about whether or not they should go nuclear and get rid of the filibuster rule just to be able to do something that isn't an executive order war. Just like a war of executive orders. And it makes you wonder if James Carville is right, and if we're dealing with animals like that really just want to go to town with expanding courts and trying to add every 2 mile squared piece of swamp as a state just to be able to manufacture some kind of political mandate, then damn, man, why not go for the gold right now? Why not? Why not get rid of the filibuster? Oh, they're going to use it against you too. I said, is that the worst? Like what? I don't know. Certainly don't have any of the political will or the majorities to make some lasting changes any other way. So I don't know. Just throwing it out there. James Carville. So what kind of amendments would you throw out? Throw out for consideration, that is. Gribble Sillin says, what happened to the Tea Party? What's happening to MAGA? The Tea Party was co-opted just like anything else. Taxed enough already, they said. Eli P says, oh, wow, that recipe with Sal is intense. I'll have to study that for a few hours before I attempt it. I can already smell it cooking. I can't wait. If you get around to doing it, which you definitely should, because we're just at the beginning of stew and soup season, get me all of the footage. I want to see how it comes out. It's so good. And Sal's stew recipe, like I said in the opening, it is the latest of all of the members only goodies that I've been publishing lately. So wherever you are subscribed to the show as a sponsor monthly, go there. It's been published all over the place, along with everything else, including right here on YouTube. And yeah. All right. Eli P. Wow, that recipe. Thank you. Shotzi, an evening with KrisAnne is always the best. And Tom Wilbur says, great show and great guest. I love KrisAnne and her wonderful mind. Over on Rumble, then we're going to do some fun stuff over here. Rumble says, Pablo Wenscabar says, where'd that dick laser at, homie? Well, you know what? I have to add you again because, Pablo, because as much as you put in, I add you now. It's a
Frank. Great evening, brother. Hard hands emoji.
Well, thank you so much, Stove. Great evening to you as well. Just dropping in on me like that. Tom Wilbur, Jay Britz. Let me put you in then. Okay, I'll get you in there. We'll before we roll. All right, on Pilled. Bois Blanc says Northwest Michigan, south end of Torch Lake, says Bois Blanc. NX17 says yay silver. Corey says would love to win some silver, Frank. It's at $62 right now, so it's not going down. Maybe it does dip, but this is all history. No Stud All Muffin says another great show, Frank. I'm having to sell some silver to pay off some unexpected debts, and I would love to win one back. Well, that's a great reason to put in for a little bit. Swickley, thank you. The Sentinel says, cheers, Frank. We love KrisAnne. I propose a balanced budget and debt elimination amendment. Molly already wants an English as an official language and requirement for citizenship. Maybe we could have a no pants Thursday amendment. Thor would approve. I've heard a lot about balanced budget and debt elimination amendments. There's got to be some kind of a deterrent there, though. There's supposedly debt ceilings that have no debt ceilings, whatever the hell they are. I mean, it's just a thing. You can raise the ceiling whenever the water becomes too high in your house. It's a ridiculous thing. We're gonna vote to raise it a little bit so we can spend a little bit more. Ridiculous. So the real question is, how are you deterring people from just inching away from it all a little bit more? Sentinel again says, I wonder what the rules for decision would be for the tribunal executive. Would decision have to be unanimous or a 2/3 majority? And I imagine if it was unanimous, nothing would ever get done, and how fickle a 2/3 majority would be with Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, and Chuck Schumer were a tribunal. Well, that's the whole point here, is that the way that our government was set up, it was to create almost endless stalemate so that only things that were so wildly popular, and again, even things that are wildly popular can be bad, of course, but it allowed for minority parties to really keep majority parties or any larger majority of an electorate that has been bitten by some kind of a fad or whatever the hell it is, a political whim that is unconstitutional. It allows for that minority party to be a check on a majority, whereas usually, if all things were as they are, a bigger person usually can squash a smaller person. Usually. Some David and Goliath stories out there we like telling. Okay, let's see. Now, I have an update. You know what? Let me see if I can call the black wheelchair Santa guy again. Let's see if he'll actually pick up this time. Where the hell is that? See if he'll actually pick up. All right. This might be it right here.
Hey, this is Rob.
No. Nope, he's ducking me. He's ducking me, but we do have something here. We have we have a member of the audience who actually seems like they do very well on eBay. Have done a lot of work. They got 100% positive rating, but they put something up there to beat the black wheelchair Santa grifter at his own game. And that is our friend Noonie. And Noonie has a black wheelchair Santa of his own. And this time, he named it the Ultimate Target 2023 Santa Claus Wheelchair Black Santa Virtue Signaling, NWT. This one comes with every kind of flag. He stuffed one of those gay pride flags in there, a Ukraine flag in there, and he undercut the price of $7,500. Of course, he listed it for only $6,000. So, but still, he said, listen, hey, if you want to talk about this on the air, talk about it quickly because I'm going to take it off before people start rating me downward. $6,000. You get a $1,500 break if you buy from our friend Noonie out there. And with a coupon code, you can get this for $5,950. I don't know what the coupon code is. What is the coupon code? Frankly, get a $50 off of your $6,000 crippled Santa. But this one has Ukraine flags and everything else. So good on you. Good on you, Noonie. That is wonderful. That's fantastic. Let's see. Let's actually see what he put into the description. Item description from seller. Wait. Very rare. Hold on. Wait, condition. A brand new, unused, unopened, undamaged item in its original packaging. Where packaging is applicable, packaging should be the same weight as blah, blah, blah. Okay. Very rare. A very rare handicapped black wheelchair Santa that was sold at Target in 2023. He has added virtue signaling accessories. They were added and not included in the original version bonus. Thank you. Thank you, quite frankly, for bringing attention to this matter. By the way, this one has not been manhandled like the other one available. Congratulations. This is great. I was even shouted out on eBay. This is the first time I've been shouted out on eBay. So I'm really going to miss this guy. I'm going to give him away next. This will be part of the super chat raffles next week. Still has a tag on it. Wonder Shop. Just as Santa. I'm going to miss you, man. I mean, I have one of your brothers at home with me in Studio B, but this is the studio. What do you think about it? It's all right. Oh, yeah? Well, we enjoy it. I hope you got a front row seat while you're here. And with that, we'll go to some other things. You can call into the studio at 914-200-0269 with whatever you got, including your amendments that you want to propose. And you can also interrupt the show with a, quite frankly, super chat donation of $10 or more. It'll just pop up on screen. But in the meantime, I want to go to a few pieces of media that I have here. Oh, wait, this one won't pop up on screen. Yeah. Listen to this. You want to talk about disabled Santas? Take a look at this. This girl was on the hunt in Target looking around for any kind of what she called disability inclusive wrapping paper. So looking at for wrapping paper with disabled things on there.
Let's look for disability inclusive wrapping paper at Target because a few years ago they had about 5 different ones. Nope. No, but this would have been a great design to put other wheels like walkers and wheelchairs along with the scooters and the rollerblades. Not on this one. This one has a bald Santa, so I'll take that for representation. Nope. Not here either. Not on this one. No representation, but my son would love this one.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. It has a son. But you can just imagine, they can just imagine that all the bunnies and the foxes and the reindeer are emotionally crippled, like she is. Does it have to be, we got to get them into why couldn't we put this cute little fox into a wheelchair? Just imagine that they're emotionally crippled. Everybody's all types of unseen injuries.
Yes, finally, we've got some Merry Christmas in American Sign Language. I'll spare you from the entire
Merry Christmas in American Sign Language. I mean, if I were deaf, I would be like, why are you doing this? Don't deaf people read? Like they read. That's very easy to take the alphabet and read. They don't need Braille. I mean, think about how that's just, I would be like, get this shit out of here. Just put Merry Christmas on it. That is ridiculous. People are fucking ridiculous. They really are. They really, really are. Disability inclusive wrapping paper. Oh, anyway, speaking of, here's some of the latest comments from Gavin Newsom about all the trans kids that he wants to see walking around California.
So we didn't get into trans sports. That's an issue no one wants to hear about because 80% of the people listening disagree with my position on this. But it comes from my heart, not just my head. It wasn't a political evolution. It was
position being that
I don't think it's I want to see trans kids. I have a trans godson. There's no governor that's signed more pro-trans legislation than I have, and no one has been a stronger advocate for the LGBTQ community. So we didn't get into trans.
That's like saying I want to see children in wheelchairs. It just inspires me to see them just scooting around as if nothing's wrong. I love it. I would love to see that. I would love to see people. The things that people are driven to say these days are absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of, I was thinking about, I don't know how disturbing this would be for the Quite Frankly book clubbers out there, but I was thinking about doing American Psycho. I read American Psycho about maybe about 12 years ago or something like that. I mean, it's something else, man. It's something else. It brings a new shade of something to watching the movie. It just reminds me of that when I look at this freak, Patrick Bateman. I wonder what Gavin Newsom's morning routines are like. Chemical peels and all that stuff. Anyway, here's another one for you because, Gavin Newsom went that way, Target shoppers going the other way, and then Netflix, of course, says, hey, hold my hormone therapy. They just released a trailer for a new transgender film called The Queen of Coal. The film features a trans woman who dreams of working in coal mines, but has to fight against superstition and patriarchy in order to be accepted. Dreams of working in the coal mines. It's not just something that they have to do or is just... it's just so crazy.
Some of the guys say they've seen a shadow. Others say it's just a beam of light. The truth is, everyone believes it's the presence of the Black Widow, the woman who broke the superstition and went into the mine on a day that wasn't St. Barbara's Day.
The superstition is, I guess, is religion?
It's always been my dream to work in the mine.
Rodriguez, Carlos, underground.
Oh, God, no. Oh, God, no. I wonder what the budget was. There's so much money. And then again, they were just trying to buy Warner Brothers. Netflix was just, I don't know if it's been pushed off and what's going on there. But they were just trying to acquire Warner Brothers and HBO Max, which of course the properties that come along with that are just nuts. Incredible, the properties. I mean, you're talking about Harry Potter to Sesame Street, even though Sesame Street has been in the hands of psychos for a long time, but it's just holy. There's that. So, what else we have? I had somebody actually just sent me something in. Said, Frank, what did you think? What did you think about the Diddy documentary yet? Well, tonight I have one more episode to go. All I'm going to say is that the perfect companion to watching this 4-episode docuseries is to read through 50 Cent's Instagram feed. 50 Cent is the happiest man on the planet right now. This guy is glowing, and it's absolutely hilarious. First of all, there's no doubt, if you ever had a doubt, that Sean Puffy Combs had something to do with the death of Tupac, and also responsible in that way for the death of Notorious B.I.G. It's just so easy to see there. And of course, you don't I like stuff like this only because it brings you back to, at least me, when you're talking about the 90s, it brings me back to my childhood and remembering all the stuff playing out on television, in the news, and on MTV, but now having a little bit more of a time to digest it from an adult perspective, because I didn't really get how deep it all went. So it's really interesting to have that context. And of course, the guy's a monster. Just a monster. But if you have been around the internet long enough to have seen the absolute passion with which 50 Cent digs at Diddy for years and has made fun of him and everything else, for him to be such an intimate part of the production of this docuseries is absolutely priceless right now. This man is smiling. I had to hold on a second. There was one, I was going to save it for maybe a Friday morning or something, but to hell with it. This is let me click this. It's one of my bookmarks. Yeah, this is the one. So 50 Cent denied interviews from every news source, if you didn't know, besides ABC, about his involvement in this docuseries that is out right now, because he knew that ABC is one of the few channels that they provide in prison, so that this was going to be seen. It's just, he's taken so much time to enjoy this, and he's glowing. Take a look at this for a second. Hold on.
You know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day. One could watch this and think that you really hate Sean Combs.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing.
Let me say something. I've never seen a man smile so joyously, outside of course, welcoming their children into the world. The hate has made him glow. He's glowing. This is the most pure form of hatred I've ever seen in the world. You know how we talk about...
I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
Does he know you?
I have seen, we talk about the kind of monsters we see in Congress and the people who work in the mainstream legacy corporate news, and how over the course of 5 years, what was once a moderately physically attractive person who has it all together will rot before our very eyes, like they are Emperor Palpatine. Like, you just know that this person is, at the very least, has incredibly abusive inner monologue, and they are dealing with so much inner hatred and so much that it's actually just, I don't know, it's just rotting things. It's accelerating aging, I should say. We all rot, there's going to be a day that you turn on the television one day or however you stream this show, and it's going to dawn on you. Frank's getting old. He's getting old. I guess we all are, though, right? But there are some people who are just it's like Benjamin Button in reverse. It is just, this is so far beyond anything that we have seen. The hatred that he has for P. Diddy nourishes him. It nourishes him. He looks younger, 50 Cent. He's glowing. I've never seen hatred make somebody glow like a I don't know, like a new mother holding their child. They're glowing. They just brought new life into the world. That's what this documentary is like. And just for that reason alone, it's just what do you want me to say? Anywho, that's just one thing I got for you on that front. What else do we have over here? There's a few more that people just sending in. Here's another one for 50 Cent. It's all of this like prison yard footage of Diddy just having a good time with all the other inmates, and 50 Cent. This is 5 weeks ago. He looked happy to me with all them handsome men around. Good morning, New York City. He just loves it. He loves to hate. All right, this was something else that I thought was hilarious. This is hilarious right here with Will Arnett talking to Conan O'Brien. And I thought it would be funny and interesting, maybe as a last second thing that people can call in on. Yeah. Give us a buzz, 914-200-0269. As you know, give us a buzz. I want to hear from you. The phones are open. And so are our minds. So you give me a buzz and let me know what you got to say. Here's one of the things you can say. I thought this was just incredible how Conan O'Brien deals with grief. This exchange, I don't know where they were, whose show it was. It might be Conan's show. But Will Arnett is talking about these exchanges he had with Conan O'Brien around the week that both of his parents died. And I just thought that this exchange was remarkable, and I shared it with the guys, and I want to share it with you now too, because I just think it's I think it's pretty interesting. So call in if you deal with grief in a constructive way.
May bring up a touchy, actual, this is real personal subject for you.
It's okay. I know what it is.
Death in the family.
Yep.
So I hear that your dad passes away, and I text you, and I said, hey, listen, I'm sorry to hear about your dad's passing, sending love from our family to yours. Mm-hmm. And you wrote, thank you, Will. To be honest, I blame Bateman
for the death of my father.
The day after his father dies.
Yeah.
Right. So I wrote, it's not a terrible theory, and Conan texted me back, he killed my dad.
Can I say, in fairness, my dad would have loved this.
Okay. The next day, Bateman texts you, and he says, Arnett tells me you're on to me.
Yes.
And Conan texts Bateman, he says, Bateman, do yourself a favor, turn yourself in. Right? 2 days after your dad passes, of course, your mom passed away.
Yeah, which I did not see coming.
Which you did not see coming. So I text you 2 days after. I said, Bateman is asking for your sister's street address.
Yes.
Oh, okay to give.
Yeah.
You texted back. Just seeing this now. Fantastic. 625 Boylston Street, apartment 12C. Tell Bateman to make it look like a robbery.
I swear to God, this is how I grieve.
If I may,
that was incredible. That's incredible. Oh man, what a way to grieve. You know, I think sometimes you have the ability. I think you have a little bit more leeway with some losses. How do you? Is there any constructive ways that you grieve? I know it's a very big subject to be broaching here at 8:43 p.m. when I'm about to drag you guys into the flip side with me. But you know, it is a Wednesday night, a hump day, and I thought a little humor would get us over the hump. Here's another little piece of humor for you. This guy, I don't know. I guess these are his daughters or something. He's on a ladder, and the ladder falls out from underneath him, and he's just dangling there. And there is absolutely no help in sight. The two girls that he is joined by they can't do anything. And they look like they're well into their teens. Oh man, take a look at this. So there goes the ladder. Now he's just dangling. You see the feet. All right. And the girl's trying to reassemble the ladder. And I don't know. And here comes the other one. She can't stand it up. Now they got two. Oh, here comes three. One is just holding their hands out from far away, not going to catch anything. And now he's dangling far. He's losing his grip. So she puts a chair underneath him, but it's still 5 feet short. And now she's just holding on to his ankles. I don't know if she's going to pull him down, or now she gets a chair that's even shorter to put underneath him and encourages him to what? I guess he's just going to have to take a shot, clear everything out. Oh man. After this, I would consider that I might have failed as a parent. I might have failed. Okay, that might have been the end for me. I might have spent a little bit extra time in front of the bathroom mirror that night, brushing my teeth, and I just pull the brush away and just stare at myself in the face and realize I had failed. I had failed. It took me to that moment to realize. So yes. I don't know. What do you guys think about that one? Am I going too hard on the girls? Perhaps I am. So I had this. Let me just make sure I get everybody in for this. I'm going to give away this silver and everything else. Anonymous says the things I can do with my dick laser. Stephen Hawking. Anonymous is now going on to the list. Stove already got you in there. Tom Wilbur got you in there as well. Yeah. Oh, well, no. I did not. Tom Wilbur is in there. Checking in with everybody on Pilled. Kobe Wan just dropped a whole bunch of cookies. Let's see. I'm going to have to put that in, give myself a second. The lines are still open. Let me give a shout to Outlier. What's going on, Outlier?
Outlier happens to be the company I work for, Frank. It's your brother, Zo.
Oh, hello, Zoso. How are you? Are you calling in with what? What story?
So the 50 Cent, he's got a lot of reasons to smile, that guy. Not just, that was hysterical. I died laughing. But do you know that back in 2014, when Bitcoin was worth like $380 or something, one of 50 Cent's buddies convinced him to sell one of his albums and accept Bitcoin. He netted 700 Bitcoins back in 2014. He is now a Bitcoin multi-billionaire. Talk about stepping in a bucket of shit and coming out smelling like a rose.
Wait.
That guy's amazing. He is amazing.
Okay, hold on. You said that he got 700 Bitcoins?
Yes.
700.
What's a Bitcoin worth today? 30?
No.
Now?
No. Well, today, as of right now, it is $91,000 a coin.
Oh, my God. He's doing all right, old 50 Cent.
Well,
Holy.
let me see here. Where the hell is my my calculator here? Because I'm not very good at calculations. 700 times 91,000, which of course it was at like 120,000 like a month ago. I'm sure that it'll jack up.
It'll go up again. Yeah.
Here we go. So if he held on to his 700 Bitcoin, then from that investment alone, it has netted him, if he has not touched it, $63.7 million.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a nice little nest egg for anybody.
No wonder he can't stop but smiling.
I know.
That was a great, I laughed my ass off. Brother, I'm going to have to run, but I'm going to win that silver, just letting the Franklies know. It's coming. He's about to pull my name.
Okay. Well, if this happens, it'll be spooky. Thanks for the call, Zo.
All right, buddy.
Take
Later.
care. Zoso is one of those people I wish had a way to transport himself to the holiday party on Saturday. That would be nice. So Delona just sent a whole bunch of cookies. Delona wants to win the silver. I was just adding her in while Zoso was talking. Big Chief Patriot says, get me in there, Francis. You got it. And let me also say, this is the great thing about this, that people add their names into these raffles way more than a few times, especially on Pilled and everywhere else. And they have not, that does not guarantee victory. Obviously, probability starts changing. That's the numbers, the chances change a little bit, but it has not guaranteed victory. It is, it's been really incredible to see. Okay, Big Chief. We got to draw this name because I'm bringing you guys into the after hours with me. Lynn, no stud, all muffin, says jumping onto the cookie train now. And now everybody's going nuts. Okay, see Lynn. No stud. All right, I think, damn, that's a lot. And we got you all in. Good. Thank you, Pablo. Let's see. Awaken Boomer says hi-ho silver and Dick Lasers away. And KrisAnne is a gem. Grandma Grateful says, I missed KrisAnne. I'll have to go back and watch the first half of the show later. It was a great one. It really was. It was relevant to what's going on right now. I got a lot of surprising answers. We got to have a really interesting follow-up to conversation on what we had discussed last night with Megan Fox. And yeah. Grandma Grateful again says, Target shopper is crippled. Give her crutches for her brain. That's what I'm saying. You could just pretend that all of the dancing animals on the Christmas wrapping paper are, emotionally handicapped. Frank, when is movie night? Is it this Friday? What time, says Grandma Grateful? It is going to begin at 8:30 p.m. on Friday. You will get the private link sent to you. If you're on Patreon or Subscribestar, it'll just be posted there. If you're subscribing through the website, it'll be sent to you through email, and also I'll put it on the members only blog so you can just double back and find it there as well. YouTube members, I'll be posting it on YouTube. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a 2.5 hour movie, but I put some time aside, and anybody who wants to watch it with me, it'll be a kind of spooky, chilling little evening. And next week, I'm really going to try to find a way to slip in a viewing of It's a Wonderful Life. A proper Christmas movie, not just a freaky December movie. Anyhow, okay. That's what I got. Oh, and Miss Maniac says, Rotten Pain. You damn right. You damn right. It looks like there's going to be a reunion. It really does. It looks, as I'm trying to set the charge to make some music together again. Tim and Kyle, they want to re-record some of the music that we were doing like 25 years ago, and that's going to be interesting, and maybe even stream it a little bit. I want to get some live performances on the Playhouse. That'll be nice, especially for those of you out there who like the hard rock, heavy metal stuff. Those chats have been really fun on that show. So Haywood says Dick Lasers and silver. Oh my. All right. Let's get this underway. Okay. NX17 just dropped in there as well. All right. Okay, everybody stop. No more. NX17, Grandma Grateful, Haywood, and Miss Maniac, everybody else I got. All right, good. We're good. Everything's good. Now just chill. Here we go. Who is winning? My last physical dick laser. One of 4 remaining I don't know. This is just such a relic. This makes me feel, I don't know. This is just nuts. What a wonderful shirt. And silver. Here we go. Rolling a name, and Merry Christmas to 123 SKG. And there's an example. Out of 85 names, 123 SKG might have had one super chat that they threw in. against everybody else. That's what I'm talking about. The odds are always in your favor, my friends. That's what I'm talking about. All right, well, 1, 2, 3. I feel like they won months ago, something. But reach out to me, and I will get this to you soon. I appreciate you all so much. Tomorrow, we'll be live at 11 in the morning because at night, it'll be a special broadcast, mobile from the cell phone on YouTube only from the Christmas Mansion. We're going to be getting a special tour there. It'll be nice little Christmas programming. We've done this 3 years in a row now. And then on Friday, we'll have a morning coffee chat again as well. This is both from Studio B, so it'll be considered a B-side to Quite Frankly, and I hope you enjoy it. It'll be the first time a lot of you are actually seeing or hearing the voice of the X22 report tomorrow morning, and I hope you enjoy that. It's definitely going to be a trip down memory lane for me too. All right, with that being said, I will catch you on the flip side. Come to the flip side. I'm putting it in the chat room. Putting it into the chat room, and let's talk it out because I have some other stuff to show you, and I just want to read your comments for tonight. All the best. Please leave a like, a comment, share it, become a member somewhere, and hi-ho silver to you all. Good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed for a live studio audience. Now our super chatters, they are aplenty. Anonymous, Stowstube, Tom Wilbur, Jay Britz, Genie Yankee Fan, Gribble Sillin, Eli P, Shotzi, and to all of our friends on Rumble, that is Grandma Grateful and Miss Maniac and Awakened Boomer, Hey Would You Blow Me, and who else we have up top? Oh, Pablo Escobar. All of you pilled people, I'll get to you in a second. You get special love over there on Pilled. Come join us. Come join us for the flip side. Fun stuff always.
Think about it though, Tone. So weight loss.
AIDS? Nobody's got AIDS. I don't want to hear that word here again.